Welcome back to our channel. Some quarters are worth way more than 25 cents. Check your change, like and subscribe for rare coin. In the midst of 1994, America stood on the brink of a new digital age. The internet was beginning to seep into everyday life, shaping the habits and imaginations of a generation. Yet even as technology advanced, millions of coins still clinked through vending machines and cash registers, unchanged in their silent usefulness. Among them was the 1994 Washington quarter, a coin as familiar and overlooked as a streetlight at dusk. Minted in the billions, it carried the stoic profile of George Washington on its obverse and the proud eagle poised on its reverse, a design unchanged since the 1930s. Most who held it in hand never thought twice about it. But one particular quarter, birthed in the unexpected quiet of mechanical failure and human oversight, would become anything but ordinary. That year, the U.S. Mint operated at full capacity. Philadelphia and Denver churned out quarters with military precision, each struck on a copper-nickel-clad planchet, weighing precisely 5.67 grams. Everything was calculated: pressure, temperature, die alignment. And yet, perfection in theory doesn't always hold up in practice. Somewhere between the minting press and the final inspection tray, something went wrong. For most collectors, the 1994 quarter offered little allure. It was a common coin in every sense, with high mintage numbers and no planned changes in design or composition. But for Jonathan Reeves, a collector of peculiar resolve and quiet obsession, that's what made it so interesting. Jonathan believed that the most valuable errors were those hiding in plain sight. The kinds no one expected. The ones camouflaged by normalcy. He spent hours each week combing through circulation rolls. His garage, once reserved for tools and hardware, had become a maze of boxes, labeled meticulously by year and mint mark. It was in one of these boxes, a $5,000 roll set from a small-town Montana bank, that Jonathan first felt the pull of something unusual. The coin in question didn't shout. It whispered. The rim felt uneven against his thumb. The thickness seemed slightly off. When he placed it on his scale, his heart paused. 6.2 grams, too heavy. He checked the calibration. Reweighed. Then checked again. The standard quarter should not exceed 5.7 grams. This one had gone far beyond the limit. He held it to the light. There were no signs of tampering. The edge had clean reading, but it was faint in areas, almost smoothed away. The coin strike was slightly misaligned. The eagle on the reverse sat just off-center, leaning left. But what sealed Jonathan's suspicion was the sound. When dropped gently onto a hardwood surface, this quarter rang with a dull, muted tone, far different from the higher-pitched chime of a normal-clad coin. He sent the coin to a certified grading service for analysis. Weeks passed. When the results arrived, they confirmed what he had quietly dared to hope: the coin had been struck on a foreign planchet, a blank never intended for U.S. quarter production. Its composition was slightly richer in nickel and bore traces of manganese, elements not typically present in domestic quarter blanks of that era. It wasn't a simple misstrike. It was a wrong planchet error. An anomaly that occurred when a blank intended for another denomination, or even another country's coinage, was fed into the wrong press and struck with U.S. quarter dies. This revelation alone was rare enough. But then came something even stranger. Under magnification, the reverse eagle showed faint doubling along its wings, an unrecorded die anomaly. The D in United appeared slightly shadowed, almost split. Experts later classified this as a minor double die reverse, a rare variety that had gone unnoticed in the 1994 batch. Whether the double die had anything to do with the coin's heavier composition was uncertain, but the convergence of these two traits made the coin a numismatic enigma. News of Jonathan's discovery circulated among collectors. Forums buzzed with speculation. Could more of these exist? Was this a freak accident, or the result of a deeper issue at the mint? Some theorized that foreign blanks from contract coinage operations had been mistakenly left in storage and later mixed into U.S. planchet supplies. Others suspected a rogue experimental planchet had been tested unofficially. The mint, true to form, offered no comment. Months later, another example surfaced, this one in Texas. It shared the heavy weight, off-center strike, and slight doubling on the eagle's wing. Though worn and slightly tarnished, it was unmistakably part of the same strange family. A third appeared in Oregon, heavily circulated but still showing telltale traits. The growing body of evidence pointed to a short-lived error run, perhaps a few minutes of production when a batch of wrong blanks was inadvertently fed into the quarter presses. No one knows how many escaped into circulation. Some estimate fewer than a dozen. Others believe that more may lie forgotten in jars, drawers, or old casino change bins across the country. As interest grew, so did the coin's value. Jonathan's original find, graded MS-64, first sold quietly to a private collector for $28,000. A year later, it was resold at auction for $57,000. By 2023, a similar piece in slightly better condition reached $72,000 in a competitive bidding war. These weren't just collector's items, they had become legends of modern era coinage. What makes the 1994 era quarter so compelling isn't just its technical deviation, it's the questions it raises. How did foreign planchets find their way into a minting system that had by then embraced computer controls and automated error detection? Why did the doubling on the die escape notice in such a high-volume production year? And most intriguingly, could more of these hybrid coins still exist, tucked away among billions of unremarkable quarters? One final twist emerged in late 2024. A fourth specimen surfaced in Michigan. It bore all the same attributes: overweight planchet, off-center strike, faint die doubling. But this one had something else: a small die gouge near Washington's eye, giving him a strange glint when tilted under light. It was likely incidental, a random die flaw. Yet it gave the coin a signature uniqueness. It sold in a private deal for $4.88000. Today, the 1994 Washington quarter struck on an incorrect planchet with die anomalies stands as one of the most valuable modern errors known to collectors. It's a stark reminder that even in the era of industrial perfection, the unexpected can emerge from the ordinary. The value of one of these verified specimens now ranges from $45,000 to $105,000, depending on grade, rarity, and the presence of secondary anomalies. Not bad for a coin worth 25 cents on its surface, an accidental masterpiece born in the shadows of precision. In 2014, the United States Mint was deep into its America the Beautiful Quarters program, a multi-year effort celebrating the natural splendor and historical landmarks across the nation. That year, the spotlight fell on a place steeped in Southern charm and frontier legend, Tennessee's Great Smoky Mountains National Park. The design was unmistakable. On the reverse, a rustic log cabin sat nestled under towering trees, with a fog-covered mountain range in the background. An old-fashioned fence wound its way across the landscape, and a hawk soared overhead, its wings outstretched. The scene felt timeless, like something out of a forgotten storybook. With millions of these quarters struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, the coin was meant to be just another commemorative release in a long, predictable series. It passed through cash registers, parking meters, and vending machines like any other. There was no fanfare for most of them, just metal, weight, and repetition. But not all quarters are created equal. Miles away from the public eye, nestled in the rolling hills of western North Carolina, a retired teacher named Sylvia Lorne had picked up a new hobby. With more time on her hands and a love for history, she began combing through coin rolls from her local credit union. She wasn't seeking wealth, just a quiet thrill, a subtle mystery in the palm of her hand. Quarters fascinated her most, especially the newer commemoratives. Something about the diversity of designs and the slim chance of finding a minting anomaly kept her going. It was in early 2021, while inspecting a roll labeled 2014 D quarters, that Sylvia noticed something odd. A Tennessee quarter stood out, not because of any dramatic error at first glance, but because of its feel. The edge wasn't quite right. The reading seemed shallow in places, and the weight, while not visibly wrong, made her fingers pause. She placed it on a scale. 5.9 grams. Slightly above the standard 5.67 grams for a clad quarter. Curiosity piqued, she examined the surface. There was something strange about the hawk. Its feathers appeared softer, slightly blurry, as if they had been struck with a less defined die. The trees behind the cabin were also less detailed than those on the other 2014 quarters she compared it to. Still, nothing obvious screamed error. Until she turned it to the obverse, there it was. Washington's bust, subtly misaligned, sat higher than usual in the die collar. His eye nearly touched the inner rim. The lettering in Liberty hugged the edge too closely. A die misalignment, perhaps, but not the kind seen every day. She sent it off for analysis. The result stunned her. This wasn't just a die misalignment. The coin had been struck on an experimental planchet, likely a transitional test blank. Its composition was close to the normal copper-nickel clad mix, but with slight deviations in metal content. Higher traces of manganese, almost akin to what was used in dollar coin compositions, had altered the weight and appearance just enough to escape normal detection. Metallurgists confirmed it wasn't counterfeit, nor tampered with after minting. This was an official mint strike, just not struck on the planchet it was supposed to be. Even more curious was the die state. Both obverse and reverse dies had signs of fatigue, microcracks along Washington's collarbone and a faint clash mark between the mountain range and the hawk's wing. These signs indicated that the coin was struck during a phase of intense die wear, possibly late in a production run. That, combined with the experimental planchet, made it a truly rare hybrid. News of Sylvia's find spread slowly but surely. Her discovery was featured in a regional numismatic bulletin, which caught the eye of a prominent Midwest dealer. Soon, collectors from across the country were scouring their own 2014 Tennessee quarters, looking for anything remotely similar. Within a year, 2 more examples turned up, one in Kansas, another in Utah. Both bore similar weight discrepancies and minor die alignment issues, though none were in as fine a condition as Sylvia's. Theories abounded. Some speculated that a batch of dollar coin blanks had been mistakenly funneled into the quarter press. Others believed it was a planned test by mint engineers that was never meant for circulation. Still others suspected it was a result of last-minute changes in supplier contracts, resulting in an accidental planchet swap. No official explanation ever surfaced, but the story didn't end there. In 2022, a 4th specimen was discovered, this time in pristine uncirculated condition. But this one had something the others didn't: a full reverse cud. Just above the trees, near the hawk's flight path, a piece of the die had broken off, leaving a bulbous, unstruck area that distorted the design like a ghost pressing through the metal. This error, combined with the wrong planchet and worn dies, created a trifecta of anomalies rarely seen in modern mintage. This 4th coin sold at auction for an astonishing $76,000, sending ripples through the numismatic world. Sylvia's original find, graded MS-65, eventually sold to a private collector for $55,000. The Kansas coin, in slightly lower condition, fetched $39,000 in a regional sale. As word spread and more collectors began to recognize the coin's significance, prices continued to rise. But as of now, no more than a handful of confirmed specimens exist. These rare 2014 Tennessee quarters represent the convergence of timing, oversight, and machinery, an accidental masterpiece forged in silence. They slipped through the filters of perfection, survived years of circulation, and quietly waited to be noticed by someone who still believed in the thrill of the hunt. Today, a verified 2014 U.S. Tennessee quarter dollar with this error can command anywhere from $32,000 to $80,000 depending on grade, condition, and the uniqueness of any additional anomalies. A simple quarter, meant for change and toll booths, now revered as a prized artifact of modern minting's unpredictable nature. In 2019, the U.S. Mint continued its ambitious America the Beautiful Quarters program, highlighting parks, monuments, and historic landmarks from every U.S. state and territory. That year, among the final quarters to be released was the one honoring war in the Pacific National Historical Park in Guam. A solemn tribute to the island's critical role in World War II, the design featured American forces storming ashore, their rifles raised, with a landing craft beached in the background and the turbulent Pacific waves crashing at their heels. It was more than a coin, it was a frozen moment from history, encapsulated in metal. The Guam quarter, minted in both Philadelphia and Denver facilities, was released into circulation in huge numbers, like all the others in the series. It was never expected to carry extraordinary value or mystique. Collectors noted the quarter for its bold wartime imagery and distinctive island setting, but few looked twice once it passed through their hands. It was just another commemorative coin, another chapter in the long, uniform production of modern American currency, but the machine that mints perfection is still a machine. And sometimes, it hiccups in the smallest, most unusual ways. Alex Romano, a lifelong coin enthusiast from Oregon, was the kind of collector who preferred the back roads of numismatics. He didn't chase pristine proofs or mint sets. Instead, he rummaged through circulation rolls, visited rural banks, and spent long hours comparing die varieties under halogen lights. In early 2022, he received a bulk order of quarter rolls from a retired banker in Utah. It was a mix of various years, nothing rare on the surface. But something in the fourth roll made him pause. A Guam quarter slid into view, but it looked off. The fields were slightly darker. The texture felt irregular against his fingers. He dropped it onto his sorting mat and stared closer. The rim was unusually thick on one side, nearly spilling into the edge of the design, while the opposite side was uncomfortably thin. It wasn't a perfectly centered strike. The die alignment was off, just enough to make the obverse tilt rightward. The weight, when measured, came in at 5.82 grams. He blinked. Then checked again. The standard weight for a clad quarter is 5.67 grams. His scale was accurate, calibrated the day before. Something was wrong. That he placed the coin under a microscope. And then it became clear. The metal's surface had a grainier composition. Underneath the design, microscopic inconsistencies in the planchet structure appeared, pits and bubbles too deep for standard coin blanks. And then he saw it, the faintest trace of a different edge pattern. The reading wasn't just uneven, it was interrupted near one quadrant, as though the coin had been struck on a blank with improper collar support. Or worse, on a blank never meant for a quarter at all. Alex contacted a numismatic specialist for further testing. Weeks passed. Finally, the results confirmed his suspicions. The coin had been struck on a foreign planchet, one likely destined for a different denomination or country altogether. The metal analysis revealed a slightly higher nickel content than standard U.S. quarters, and subtle traces of zinc, commonly used in foreign coinage. It wasn't a fake. It wasn't tampered with. It was a genuine U.S. mint strike, on the wrong material, but the oddities didn't end there. The reverse image of the soldier's landing in Guam, already dynamic in its composition, held a hidden flaw. The soldier nearest the center, raising his weapon, showed a doubled outline along the left arm. A closer inspection revealed a partial double die error, subtle but present, likely caused by a slight shift during hubbing. While not the dramatic doubling of earlier coin errors like the 1955 Lincoln cent, it was significant enough to raise eyebrows. This combination, misaligned die, wrong planchet, and subtle double die, turned Alex's coin from an oddity into a phenomenon. Experts estimated that the error occurred during a brief window of production, possibly when an experimental batch of blanks was mistakenly integrated into the Guam quarter run. The error escaped unnoticed, perhaps because the deviations were so nuanced, so easy to overlook in the flow of mass production. Over the next year, as Alex's discovery gained attention, two more examples surfaced. One was found in Arkansas by a collector checking a roll at a coin show. Another appeared in a coin shop in Ohio, nearly tossed into a bulk bin until its off-center strike caught the shop owner's eye. Both bore the same composition irregularities and weight anomalies. But neither had the doubling that Alex's coin carried. This made his quarter a unique variant, a triple threat error born of mechanical oversight and improbable timing. Auction houses began inquiring. Collectors whispered in forums. What else might be out there, hidden in circulation? Could more 2019 Guam quarters exist with this exact combination of flaws? Or was this a one-in-a-million mistake? In 2023, Alex's coin was graded MS-64 by a major certification service. Though not a perfect uncirculated specimen, its rarity and the complexity of its error set it apart. At auction, the coin commanded intense interest, finally selling for $61,000 to a private collector in New York. The other two examples fetched smaller but still impressive amounts, $41,000 for the Arkansas find and $36,000 for the Ohio coin. Each new sale fueled the legend further. These weren't just coins, they were minting puzzles, relics of accident and anomaly. In 2024, yet another Guam quarter turned up, this one with a broad strike error and heavy die abrasion marks on the reverse, as though the soldier's feet were lost in a wave of metal distortion. Whether it belonged to the same error batch or was an independent mishap remains uncertain. But the surge in attention ensured that every Guam quarter now gets a second look from serious collectors. What makes this error series so compelling is the contrast. The Guam quarter design speaks of history, bravery, and order. But the errors, subtle, hidden, and layered, tell a different story. One of chaos behind the curtain. Of metal gone astray. Of how even in a precision-driven world, a few slivers of chance can slip through the cracks and become legends in their own right. Today, the known 2019 Guam quarter errors with confirmed planchet anomalies, misalignment, and minor doubling are among the most sought-after modern errors. Depending on condition, die characteristics, and the presence of additional irregularities, their value currently ranges from $28,000 to $72,000. A coin meant to commemorate the past has, quite unexpectedly, carved out a place in the present, one quarter at a time.